Great. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us today for the grant application training for New Mexico Beat DFA. My name is Jason. I'll be your trainer today, and this is our agenda. So I estimate about 10 minutes just for the introduction part, give or take, but just making sure we have that room there. The introduction is just making sure everyone is here, and we cover the agenda. The first part of the agenda will be a demo. So we're first going to show the flow of what the whole puzzle looks like with all the pieces together. So get that 10,000 foot view, see the big picture, see the big picture of what everything looks like together. So with that, I'm going to be switching my screens back and forth between Salesforce and the portal. So I'll show what happens in Salesforce, where how grants are created, so review the grant record, and then be submitting a grant intake, reviewing the grant intake, and be doing that back and forth process. Then we'll take a break after that because we're here for 2.5 hours. So we'll take a 10-minute break at that time. And then we'll cover the training part. So for the training part, I'll just be focusing on the Salesforce side, everything Salesforce. So we'll talk about making sure you understand how to basic things like logging in, but also navigation, how to get around, how to be able to make Salesforce more convenient for you. There's a lot of ways that you could be able to configure Salesforce for yourself, and we'll be covering that. So with that said, I want to make sure that this is very supportive for you. And for that, this is how you can participate in this training. We have at the end, we'll have Q&A. Think of that Q&A for your questions for considerations. What about this? What if this happens? Those what if questions are invaluable because they can only be thought of from you on the front lines in your position. So only a person in your position will know of these questions. So I encourage you to think of those questions, but during the training itself, write them down. So this way we don't get off of our path. We don't get into rabbit holes about all these different scenarios. We can make sure we can complete our path first. So I encourage you to write those questions down for consideration so we can parking lot them, put them at the end for Q&A. However, if you do have a question for clarification, what did you just do? What did you just say? I don't follow. That doesn't make sense. Please, right away, let me know. You can do that by just taking yourself off of mute and interrupting me saying, I don't understand, what did you just do? Or you could type in the chat. I'll be monitoring the chat as well as Lisa will be helping me with that moderating and monitoring the chat. So your questions are encouraged and thought of in two buckets, consideration and clarification. If you need clarification at any time, please let me know. Because in this training, we only have 2.5 hours together, and you are not going to be a master after 2.5 hours. I mean, maybe you are, but that's not the expectation. The expectation is to introduce the system to you so that you could see how it makes sense. And then we are going to cover review to make sure, again, the purpose is, if you can see that this makes sense, then you can walk away with having the resources of this recording and a user guide to be able to see step by step to ingrain it into your memory. And so that later you'll have muscle memory. You don't need the resources, but at first you will. You're going to have to know what button do you push, where do you go? And for those reminders, we'll have these resources available. So the purpose of today is just to introduce those buttons to you so that you can see that it makes sense. So with that said, I'll go ahead and start the demo. So the demo starts, we're going to start over here in Salesforce with starting out, because before a portal user can accept a recommended grant, we first have to recommend the grant to them. So I'm going to log in to recommend a grant to an agency. And over here, I have the option to register my phone number for what's called a multi-factor authentication. So it would send me a text message when trying to log in to verify my identity in the future. I'm going to skip that for now, say remind me later. We'll cover that later in the training part. When I log in right away, I'm greeted with the first tab called Accounts. And right here at the top, we have our global search bar. So notice right here under accounts, it's listing accounts. And I can, in the global search, I can start to type a name like account, and it's providing me right here every record that has this name account in it. So this test dev account dev is right here. Age case is by account. So we have these reports. This other account, sample account, right over here. So your global search is a great friend if you know exactly the if you know information of the name of the record or some information in the record, you can use this search and it searches for any record anywhere, whether that's an account, whether that's a grant, a person, which is called a contact, a grant intake submitted by the portal user, grant key dates associated to the intake, a report. You could be able to use the global search to search for any of that. And even better, in the global search, you could be able to filter this down right over here. Right now, it's searching for all types of records, but you can search for just the accounts. You can search for just the contacts or the people. You can search for just the federal grant or the grant intake or a report. You can search for just that. So going into a demo, if I want to recommend a grant, first what I want to do is make sure that grant exists. Now, grants are going to be uploaded in bulk from a CSV file, so you shouldn't have to create federal grants, but I'll show you how they can be done in Salesforce. I'm going to look for a federal grant. Now, right away, it's giving me my most recent results of items I was viewing. And what's great about this right here, this compact layout, is that if I hover over something, it's showing me details of that. And so right over here, I can see this federal grant 17. I could also see the number of intakes for it as well. I can see the agencies that it's been recommended to right over here, even before opening the record. This is just from the search. If I'm typing, let's say 10 here, like I see the Fed grant 10 that I already created before. And again, I could be able to see key information for it. But if I click on the record itself, I could see more information, the full record. So that is great with the global search. Another way I can search is on the item itself, just as before we were viewing accounts. Over here, I'm viewing federal grants. Now notice it says recently viewed. That is the default list. I can change this to any other lists that have been made, and later I'll show you how to make your own list. So here I can view all federal grants, which is essentially the same as all viewing federal grants right here. This is all federal grants. This tab is a way to be able to more specify your search. So if I don't want to just search for all grants, I want to look for all active grants. Here we have all active grants. How's it doing that? Because we have filters. So here I'm saying all federal grants, but the status has to equal active. This is going to be such a great tool because in your process, there's a lot of different a lot of different fields that are going to be updated, and you could be able to search for exactly what you're looking for. If you're looking for awards that have been received within the past quarter or current quarter, if you're looking for awards that have been received, grant intakes with awards received, you could be able to create filters for all different settings, and I'll show how to do that. The purpose is that that's where you can be able to put filters. If you so you can be able to use the tab to be able to search more with filter if you just want to see that list of everything that matches those results. So if you don't remember the name of the grant, you just know it has certain fields, you could be able to search for whatever matches those results. So by looking at my results, I see, oh, here, I don't see the grant I'm looking for, so I need to create a new grant. To create a new grant, there's two ways to do that. One way, when I'm looking at the list of federal grants, or when I'm on this tab, there's a new button. And so I can just click that new button and I can create a new grant. And that happens as long as I'm on this federal grants tab, whatever list I'm looking at. If I'm over here at recently viewed, that new button is still right there. So I can create a new federal grant right from here, or a shortcut. If you're not on the federal grants tab, we have a drop-down arrow or a caret right here on this tab. And if I click that, This provides a few items. This provides a button right over here, create a new federal grant. It's also showing me recent records as well. So I could be able to see recent records I viewed. And this is, this is such a great tool because you can be able to navigate around and be able, if you forget what you were recently viewing, it shows you in order of recency. So over here, that happens just from the caret. So we're going to create a new federal grant first. We'll call this JZ demo grant 1. Okay. Now notice how these fields, some have red asterisks and some are not. So the ones with the red asterisks are the minimum requirements to create this federal grant as a draft. Over here, we have this field called status, and when it's none, it's in draft mode. I can create a grant record, and it's simply in draft. It's not active. So there's 3 statuses. We have draft, which is no status. There's active and expired. So I can start to create a grant as long as I have these minimum fields. So let me go ahead and do that. So I'm just going to do the minimum fields. Now over here, everything so far has just been text fields. I've been entering text. This is called a lookup field. It's searching for accounts. If I start to search for, I type 3 letters, 1. Well, actually, I could just type 1 letter. I'm sorry, it's giving me matching results. So here you're just going to start to type a record of an account, and it's going to look up the federal account. So it's looking up accounts and matching, specifically looking up federal accounts. So here I could be able to select this federal account to be the Federal Oversight Agency. Then for federal funds classification, this one is just a pick list. So I pick from this list what type of classification. There's 3 options. I can pick an auto-allocated, competitive, or a formulated fund classification. The next mandatory field is right over here, the grant close date. So this one has it's a calendar field. So when I click into the field, the calendar opens up. I could be able to move the year, move the year into the future, and I can be able to move the month. Once I click the day, the calendar closes. And if you want, you can also be able to, you could type as well. So you can type or click for the calendar. Now we'll have our assistant listing number. Okay, now let me show you if I leave that field blank, if I missed a required field, it's letting me know in red, complete this field. If I try to save, say we hit a snag, please review the following fields, assistant's listing number. And so it's not letting me save unless I have all these fields with the red asterisk. So let me go ahead and enter information, and now I can save. So I created my federal grant, but it's not active. Because it's not active, I cannot recommend the grant. Saying right here, the agencies to recommend grants will be visible only for federal grants in active status. So let me go back to my details. Now, anytime you're looking at a federal grant, you can edit it in 2 ways. One way, we have these pencil icons right over here that'll turn into edit mode, or I can click this edit button right over here. I prefer the pencils because right over here it just changes everything to edit mode. When you click this edit button, it makes the pop-up appear. So it just depends on your preference, how you want to work. I like to just use my screen and turn it to edit mode by clicking the pencil icon. And I'll change this to active. Now, if I just try to change it to active, it will not let me save because now we hit new snags. For it to be active, I need more fields populated. I need the grant URL. So enter the URL to that field. We need the description. We need the public and federal law. In order to make the grant active. Okay, so that everything should be good. Let me try saving now. Saved. Okay, so now we can save our grant. Notice here the additional fields. Let me touch on those. So right over here, this field is a checkbox, so it's just true or false. If there's a cost match requirement, yes, you check it. If not, you don't check it. Over here, these checkboxes, again, yes, is the strategic initiative for crime, for broadband. So this is a multi-select. So you can select all that apply for the strategic initiative. And those are all the different types of fields. So now that we have our information, we can look at our grant recommendations, and we have our recommendations here filled. And in case you ever see it scrunched like this, just refresh the page. And we see right here our agencies listed. We have 3 pages, so I can jump to different pages, or I could just be able to start to search. And it's giving me matching results for my search results. When you're looking at whatever you're looking at, you could be able to select all that apply. So again, this is a multi-select pick list. You select all that apply, but then you have to click assign. So I click assign and then assign again to confirm. Now it's been assigned. So now I could see under over here on the related tab, I see agency sharing. So I see that it is being recommended to these 2 departments right over here. Once it's accepted, we'll see the status updated from accepted. Or if it's declined, we can see the status as declined. And this agency sharing is also right over here on the details tab. Right here, we also made it as a made it here convenient to view. So right here on the details, you can be able to see the agency sharing. But we will be using this related tab later for the grant intakes itself. So after we accept the recommended grant and submit an intake, we'll see the grant intake for this federal grant over here on related. And how I remember how to navigate with Salesforce is over here, these are just single items. So here I'm looking up to a single account. This is a single URL. This is a single person, me. I created this grant. A single name. Whenever there's multiple, that's where it'll be under related. It's recommended to multiple agencies. There can be multiple grant intakes. So this is why it's under related, so that we can have lists. So now that I have recommended it to an agency, I'm going to log in to the portal as that agency. All right, here I am in the portal. We see there's 2 tabs at the top, home and pre-awarded grants. We'll get to pre-awarded grants later. But for now, right here on the home tab, I can be able to see a dashboard of all grant intakes by status. So I've already been busy with a lot of grant intakes, and I can be able to see the pending Fed award by grant close date. So I can be able to see the number of records for those close dates. Over here, I could be able to see all of the awarded grants. So I could be able to see information for that and be able to submit, be able to add documents for it, view those intakes, or be able to add performance form for that. We'll get to that in that phase. Over here, we're first going to start with current and upcoming grants. So over here, current and upcoming grants, I see I have a couple grants recommended to me. Over here, we're going to be using this one, the JZ Demo Grant 1. So we see it's a formulated grant. We see the close date for it. If I click on the name of the grant, I could be able to see the description that I entered. And over here is the URL that I entered into that URL field. And here are the options to decline or accept. There's also a shortcut right over here is an accept button as well. So when looking at my current and upcoming grants, I can just click accept. First, I'll show what happens to click decline. So if I click decline, I'm asked for the reason for declining this grant recommendation. Declining for the demo. Submit. So the reason, and now it's removed. Now it's no longer a current and upcoming grant. It's not an in-progress intake. It's removed from here. But I can still see that record over here. So I'm going to refresh my page. And you're going to see I'm going to be refreshing often as I go back and forth because Salesforce, the screen will not change while you're looking at the screen. You have to click refresh for Salesforce to say, oh, let me get your latest information. So it's not like your email where your email will just automatically get new email. This page will stay like this so that you can work on the page. But then if you want to see updates, you'd have to hit refresh. And now I see the status has been declined. So the status has now been updated. And if I could be able to see the reason why, I'm going to click right here, agency sharing name for that row. And we can see declining for the demo. So we could be able to see that information right over here. I can get back to my federal grant, or if I want to be able to look at more information from the agency, there's their record, but I want to get back to my federal grant. And let's go ahead and create another grant. This time, let's accept that grant. So I'm going to create a new federal grant. So I'm going to go a little faster this time. I'm going to go to my caret right over here to create a new federal grant as a shortcut. And just fill out the fields. This time I'm going to fill out all the fields in one swoop and make it active in one swoop. And notice how I'm able to jump also pressing the tab button. It goes from field to field. So if you want to move even faster without moving your mouse to go, you can just type, go to the next field. Oh, I didn't match the right format. There we go. So that's what's great about this calendar field right here. If you had a typo, if you entered a letter or something, it's, it'll catch it to make sure it's in the right format with month / day / year. Okay, so now I've created all the information to make it active in one swoop. I make it active, and now that it's active already, I have grant recommendations right here, no problem. And just also to show that in case it's expired, so maybe able to, I'll edit this to be expired. If it's expired, also, it will not show grant recommendations. So only when it's active will it show recommendations. Active, we have our recommendations again. We go ahead and see them over here. I'll recommend this just to the one agency, the one that my portal is associated with. We have a recommendation confirmed over here as we have a recommendation. So now let me refresh my portal. And we have our new recommendation. So I'm going to go ahead and accept this one. And now I'm asked right over here all the steps. The first step is ask for technical assistance. If I say yes, then I'm asked what form of technical assistance. And this is multi-select, so I can be able to select all that I want. If I select other, I'm asked what type of technical assistance. Save and next. Now, this is really cool. I just saved it. I didn't even submit the intake yet. I just requested technical assistance. So here in Salesforce, immediately I can see that signal. So we could be able to see here, if I go to related, I see right away, I have a new grant intake started. And I could see technical assistance was requested and has the status assistance requested. So notice this field right here. This is the owner. In the previous one right over here, because I created this grant intake, it's calling me the owner. But right over here on this grant intake for that federal grant, even though I'm the owner for the federal grant, this intake, the owner is technical assistance requested. That's not a person, that's a queue. So the owner can be a person or a queue. A queue is a bucket where there's no one person assigned to it. It's a group of people that all share that queue, and whoever is a part of that group sharing the queue can take ownership of it. So what that looks like in your flow, you will go to your grant intakes tab to be able to see grant intakes, and there will be a queue. called technical assistance required. In technical assistance required, now there are a lot of records in here, more than what should be, because we've been using this as a testing and training environment, but you should just be seeing the status, assistance requested, and review in progress. Review in progress is what happens if they went through the full intake and submitted it. So if they went through the full intake and submitted it, it goes from assistance requested to review in progress. But in either case, the owner is still technical assistance requested for it to be in that queue, because the filter here, it's just saying filter by owner. The owner is technical assistance requested. So when an intake is started and technical assistance requested, it creates an intake record that's a draft, but it's the status is called assistance requested while it's in draft mode, and the owner is technical assistance requested. So if you're part of the technical assistance team, you will go to this technical assistance required list to select one of these records, and you could sort this list. So I'm gonna see right over here, actually sorted already by created date. I could be able to sort it by ascending order or descending. So here we have our most recent created date. This is the grant intake I just submitted. So if I am part of the technical assistance team, just watching to see when a new record intake is requesting technical assistance, I would see when this gets a new record, I would click on the record. I would take ownership of it. So I'm removing it from that queue and taking ownership, saying I'm the person providing technical assistance. I am not going to send a notification email to myself. So that's what that means. A notification email. This is if you're sending it, if you're transferring the case to someone else. So if I'm saying I don't want to take ownership of this, we should have Jude. Jude should be the owner of this. So it's nice to send her a notification email if she doesn't know, or even if she does, but she's not in Salesforce, the notification email will have a link to the record. So that's the cool feature of a notification email. The person gets an email, which is not always wanted. Sometimes people get too many emails and they know they're getting a case, or they know they're getting a record. But the notification email will have a link to the record. So if they're not in Salesforce, they just want a quick way to go to the record, they can get a notification email. I am not going to send a notification email to myself, so I'm going to click change owner. So change the owner from that technical assistance requested queue to me as a grant manager. That's what the GM stands for. So here I'm the owner of this. Now that I'm the owner, I'm going to update the status from assistance requested to review in progress. That is the first step to, well, the second step. First step is to take ownership and then declare review in progress. From here, because it's no longer in that technical assistance required field, technical assistance required queue, so notice it's no longer here. The most recent one was from yesterday. We have another list called My Grant Intake List. So these are all the ones I'm managing, and we can be able to see the status. So this one, review in progress, is the one I just accepted to be able to review in progress, meaning provide technical assistance for. So I'm going to open this up to be able to see updates in real time on the intake information. As I go through the portal to provide information, we're going to see that reflected over here. So I'm going to provide a funding purpose. Right, notice right now the funding purpose is blank. This field, is there an equity component, is blank. I'm going to provide a funding purpose. I'll say demo. Is there an equity component? I'll say yes. Save and next. So I just saved. Once they save in real time, I can be able to see on my side. I refresh my page. So if you're providing technical assistance, you want to have that back and forth saying, okay, click save and next. Did you click save and next? Yes, I will refresh my page to see that update. So I see now it has the funding purpose here and the equity component field. Now we have key dates. So for key dates, as a portal user, I can add a new key date to a grant intake and assign the owner to any contact that's also in my agency. So I can make myself or any other contacts that's in this agency. I'll assign a date. Notice that this one has the format's a little different. This one has to be dashes instead of slashes. Or you can just click the calendar. And description. I'll say key date for a demo. Save. Okay, so I just saved it. I didn't even have to click save and next. I just saved it to here. From here, I can delete it or I can edit it. But right away, under related, I now see I have a grant key date already shown right here. So right over here, it's showing me all the key fields. It's showing me the date. It's showing me the description. It's not showing me the owner, but if I click the record itself, this is where it shows the owner of it. So this owner is the contact owner that's associated with the agency. It's not me as a grant manager. It's just a coincidence. There's a lot of Jason's sequences. We can see as I hover over it, this is Jason that's associated with DFA for the grant intake. Now, that's how I could be able to, and then to get back to the grant intake, if I'm looking at a key date, this key date is for this grant intake. So I could just click that link and it takes me back to the grant intake. And that's how, as a grant reviewer, I could be able to review the key date. I can also be able to edit it from, if I'm looking at it from here, I can click these pencils to be able to edit it. So I can edit the date, I can edit the description, I can edit the owner. I can do that. Or I could be able to create a new key date on my own. When I create a key date as a grant manager, what I could be able to do is I'm not limited to just the contacts who are in the account. I can look up any contact, so in any account. So I see recent one, I see the recent one I was looking at, but I can be able to say, so I could be able to see like other ones from Department of Transportation, Department of Workforce. So showing me the name of the account in this subtitle right over here under the name of the person. So here I'll say, this is the contact that I want to assign this key date to. And I'll pick a date. And I'll say a second demo. And from here, I could be able to save a new to just make another grant key date, or I could just click save. If I don't want to save my changes, I click cancel. So it's saved and new. It saved that one I created, showing that I created it as the grant manager, whereas this one was created by that user, Jason. And I could see that looking at the record, it's assigned to Menina. So that's the grant intakes part for key dates. Now I'm going to go save and next. Next part we have document uploads. So document uploads will be required, unlike the key dates. A key date is not required. So if I go back and I notice I can delete my key date. Here I see the key date that was added by the grant manager. I could be able to view that automatically right here. I can't be able to delete or edit it because I was not the creator of it, but I can delete my own key date that I created as a portal user. So that one's been successfully deleted. The one that remains is the one by the grant manager. But no key dates were added by me, and that's fine. That's not required. I can continue. Here we have no documents have been uploaded. In order to proceed, 3 documents have to be uploaded, specifically the budget summary, project narrative, and executive summary. So I click upload new document to upload those documents. I select those document types. So we see right here, we have several document types. They are in chronological order for the process. So I have the project narrative, budget summary, and executive summary at top. And under that, we'll have our grant submission document. And then under that, we'll have our grant award or grant denial notification. And then under that, we'll have our federal audit findings, FY external audit report, a corrective action document. So everything is in order. So first, we're going to start with project narrative. I'll provide a description, upload a file, and click next. Confirmation. And now from here, I can remove it before, and now I can only remove it now once I submit my intake. I'm not able to remove it then. So I'm only able to review when reviewing it. I can remove it. Once it's sent off, it's like being sent in the mail. It can't be removed from that intake. But while still modifying and configuring my intake, I can be able to remove it at this time. I'm going to have to click upload new document again to upload the second document, the budget summary. Let's say test 2. Now notice the documents I'm submitting, the name itself of the document, it doesn't quite match. And so as a grant manager, you may be thinking, how will I know what document they're submitting? Well, that's why we have this field document type, to be able to know whatever naming convention the portal user uses, you'll still be able to know what document it is. So this is all organized by that data. Next. Okay, it's been uploaded successfully. So now I am going to go back to my portal. So you see, we don't see the files yet until I click Save and Next. So now it's saved. Let me go ahead and refresh. And now we have those uploads. So over here, we just see the name of the file. If I click on a file, and then I click View File Details, here I could be, and then here I could be able to, I see the file again, but here I have this tab Details to be able to view the document type. So this way I know this is the executive summary, this is the description that they entered for it, and that's the title of the document itself. So those are the two tabs to be able to view the file and view the document type of the file. To go back to the grant intake, over here it's shared with this grant intake. So I click that GI number, and then back here on the grant intake. The last step is the review and submit. So before submitting, I could be able to revise any of these information. So here we have the edit button at the top. So just make a note that edit at the top. So to edit the intake information, documents, you're going to click the edit button at the top of that section. So key dates, I can edit the key dates by clicking edit right there. And so there's two ways. I can be able to click edit to go back to that section. Also, we have these steps right over here. Everything with a green circle, I can be able to click on. So I can be able to go back through these steps. I can't go forward through this little tool. To go forward, I always have to click Save and Next. But I can be able to go back. So I can go to intake information step, but I can't go forward. I have to click Save and Next to go forward. So a few ways to navigate. From here, I've reviewed, I've revised, and I'm ready to submit. So I'll click Submit, and the application's been successfully submitted. So before I click refresh, just note a couple of fields that will be updated. We have over here intake application submitted. This will be checked. We have the, we do have application start date, and the application end date will be filled as well. So we see when did they start the application, when did they end the application. We'll also be able to see the time they submitted it. So let me refresh, and we'll see those three fields populated. So we see now it is an intake application submitted. We see the submitted date, and we see the submitted time. So this way I could be able to see when I have my list, and if I want to look at not just my grant intakes, but I want to see my grant intakes that have been submitted, you can be able to add that as a filter as well. So all those fields you can be able to add as filters to make your own list of what you want to view. So let's go back over here. And now from here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go through a grant intake one more time to be able to show what happens if no technical assistance is requested. What are the statuses of that? So I'm going to create a federal grant again by clicking new federal grant from that caret. We'll just set the status as active. And I'm also going to set this as an earlier posted date to be able to show if to be able to show we're going to be like jumping around in time to be able to show in the future after if a performance date has passed 6 months, then it'll be ready for grant manager review. And so I'll be configuring that when I submit my award to be able to show the performance start date was over 6 months ago, so we could be able to begin a grant manager review for that, or the in-desk review. Okay. All right, I've hit my key fields. I am able to make it active, and I can recommend it. So I recommended my grant. Going back to my homepage, I see I have a new recommended grant. So now for this third one, we are going to accept it. We are not going to request technical support. Save and next. So I'm going to jump over to my screen where I have over here, I see already a new grant intake. And this one has the status draft, and it's in the queue, technical assistance not requested. So there's two queues. There's technical assistance requested or technical assistance not requested. So what happens when a grant intake is created? It can either be requesting technical assistance or not. If it's requesting technical assistance, that's where we can monitor that with the technical assistance requested queue. So it's owned by this bucket, the technical assistance requested group. Technical assistance is not requested. That's where it's the owner's technical assistance not requested. And so that's where this is the bucket. So this is the group monitoring that. Now over here again, like it does have many statuses in here, but that's because this is this testing environment. Really should just be having the status of draft or a new intake, draft or new intake. Because for it to be in review, that means there's a person who advanced it to in review. So I see we have our grant number 3 right here, this draft. So a draft is only if technical assistance is not requested. If technical assistance is requested, it's instead called the status assistance requested. So right here, it's you have just two choices. Before it's submitted, it's either assistance requested or it's draft. Once it's submitted, draft will become a new intake. So that's right over here. We'll see that in a moment. Assistance requested, if it goes through all the process before someone takes ownership on its own, it'll just update to the status review in progress. So over here, this is a draft technical assistance not requested. I can take ownership of this if I know eventually I will be the reviewer of it. I could take ownership of it now or later. In either case, I don't adjust the status. This status I will keep as draft. Only when technical assistance is requested will I update the status to review in progress. But because technical assistance is not requested, I will let them make it a draft. I'm just going to take ownership of it and not going to send myself a notification email. So we're going to keep this in draft, just going to be monitoring it and removing it from the bucket. So now here we have our draft in progress. Also, because grant intake records were created, if a person were to walk away from the grant intake incomplete and they want to complete it later, that's where we have this third section down here. So over here was the recommendations to be able to accept or decline. Over here in progress intakes, I could be able to see the status of all the ones in progress. So if it was a draft or if it was if it's incomplete. If it's incomplete, I can click this I right over here to be able to continue it. So here I'm back on my back in my intake. And it takes me always back to step 1, but it will save steps as I go along. So if I put right here, put a funding purpose, equity component, click save and next. I'm going to go back to my home page to be able to show if I go back to my in progress intake, here we have our draft. I go back to view it. It takes me to step 1, but it already remembers all the information I put in. So it's just having me start back at step 1, but all the information is already here. So I can just click save and next to jump through. This time I'm not going to create a key date, but I do have to upload my documents. Okay, I've uploaded my key 3 documents, save and next, reviewed, and submit. So now we see our draft right over here. Because we've submitted it, the status automatically becomes new intake. So for that, you could be able to see there's 2 ways to be able to receive the new intakes. You could be able to go to the technical assistance not required queue to be able to take it from that for ownership, or you could be able also to view new intakes or my new intakes. So these are the ones you've already accepted ownership of. These are one no one has accepted ownership of. So these are it's considered new intake if technical assistance was not requested for it. And once intake is in progress, so this one is a new intake, these are in progress after it's been submitted. I could still be able to add documents, I could still be able to add key dates, I could be able to view it. So if I click the eyeball now, I'm not able to go to edit it, I'm just reviewing it. So here I'm reviewing the documents. I can also be able to review the key dates. So I go to this one that had key dates. I can be able to review the documents. I can review the key dates. I can't be able to edit it though. But I can be able to add documents or add key dates. So that's important because if I am, let's go to this one right over here. So as the grant manager, I'm reviewing this one and I see that it's not compliant. So what I want to do is looking at this new intake, first thing I want to do is just advance the status of saying in review. So notice there's 2 statuses, in review, review in progress. In review is when technical assistance is not requested. Review in progress is when technical assistance is requested. So this one, technical assistance was not requested, we'll say in review. I save. And if I see reviewing the documents and the intake, I see it's not compliant. I can update this now status to be saying non-compliant. And then what I want to do is I'm going to click save. And now we see we have our application compliance section. So by clicking non-compliant, I can now see this page is dynamic. I now see application compliance. So I'm going to add right over here. I'm going to add the reason for non-compliance and waiting on agency for compliance documents. This date was already filled in. I didn't enter this date, so this is automatic. Same with date of compliance. This will be automatic when I update the status to being compliant. This will be filled in for me. But what I want to fill in is reason for non-compliance. This will be sent out a message whenever I check this box. When I check that box, that is saying send this message. That's only when this box was not previously checked. And then I check the box and it will send this message. And I'll enter my initials and I'll enter the date. So save that, it will save and send that message. So here we have a message, kind of like a log. that's being sent over about why it's not compliant. So from here, I could be able to add a document. So let me add a document. So let's say the executive summary was not right. I'll say test 2. Now, because I uploaded a document, now from here, I'll click refresh. Here, let me refresh over here in the portal so that when I upload my document, right, so because I refreshed on the portal side after I said it was non-compliant, it's now asking me, okay, you have a grant intake that's non-compliant and it's waiting for documents. So that's where I said right here, it's waiting on agency for compliance docs. So because it's waiting for docs, it's asking me, was this document uploaded on the advice of the grant manager in order to be compliant with the grant? If I say yes, then additional info of non-compliance document, let's say this document is for compliance. Click next. Okay. So now that that document was uploaded, we're going to see two changes over here. We're going to see when I click refresh, this checkbox will automatically be removed because before I was waiting on the agency. Now I'm no longer waiting on the agency. They uploaded their document. And they also added additional information on noncompliance. So these filters are great if you, again, these fields are great. You can use these fields for filters to be able to see what grant intakes are non-compliant where you're waiting on the agency. What grant intakes are non-compliant where you're not waiting on the agency. So you can be able to know when documents are submitted by using that checkbox. So this checkbox is not true. I'm no longer waiting on the agency. I can review the document. And then I can say, okay, this is compliant. Now that it's compliant, I can be able to see over here in the portal, the non-compliant status. Once clicking refresh, the non-compliant status is now compliant. And now from here, I could be able to submit the grant submission document. And the status will be up. Has this grant application been submitted to the federal agency, federal oversight agency? If I say no at this time, then I could just say application submission notes. And I'll say meeting review. So I can have my submission form right there saying it's not being submitted. So I'm covering all different paths. And let me refresh the page over here to show you what that looks like. So over here, we have our grant submission uploaded, but it does not say is submitted to federal grant agency. So here I could be able to see the submission has been uploaded, but not submitted. So here I could be able to monitor that. And then after reviewing that upload, I could say, okay, that's been appropriate. Go ahead and submit that. They'll have to upload it again or upload now if any, they have to upload again in case any revisions were made. So I'm going to submit my submission document. And this time I'm going to say, yes, it is submitted. This way I have to enter a submission date, either today or earlier. And submission notes, now submitted. Okay. And we'll see over here, Now we can see it has been submitted, and we see the submission notes that have been entered, now submitted. So that's what happens when it's been submitted. And we see the status automatically updates to pending federal award. So let me go ahead and upload the next document, which first I'm going to show the denial notification. Just we'll show that path, and we'll show the accept the award path. So if there's a denial, we'll select that document type. That document's been uploaded. So because I uploaded the denial document, my grant intake record notes that I uploaded a denial document. So over here, this new section now appears, grant award info, but it has the checkbox saying grant denied. So using that, I can be able to see a list of all the grant denials where the status is pending federal award. The status is still pending federal award because I have to manually update it. I have to review that grant denial. And after reviewing it, then manually, I will update this to officially be denied as a grant manager. So that one's been denied, but that's okay. We still have another grant intake still in progress. So this one right over here, this one in progress, let's go ahead and make this one awarded. So to do that, right now it's review in progress. And using this caret, I can go to my recent record, this 323. So this is the one for grant 2. And we have the status review in progress. The application has been submitted. So what I'm going to do now is say that this has been reviewed. It has been compliant. Now that it's been compliant, I'll refresh the page and I'll say I have my compliance intake. So let me upload my submission document. And we'll just make it in one swoop. We'll say that we submitted it. And I'll say here, it's been submitted, submission date. Let's actually make this last year. Okay, and I refresh. So now the status automatically advanced to pending federal award. And we see we have our submission right here. It's been uploaded. It's been submitted. Here's the submission date, and those are submission notes right here under the submission info section. So now let's upload our award. Now that's been awarded, I'm asked for award info. So this will populate these fields over here. So federal grant award number, total grant award. Is there an equity component? Grant awarded date. Here we have to use dashes. Performance end date. Percentage of cost sharing. And here we can select in-kind cost match or cash cost match. Save and submit it. So now let me refresh my page. So the status is still pending federal award because everything here has to be reviewed along with the award document. Once everything's been reviewed, I will then manually officially declare this has been awarded. So now it's officially been declared as awarded. We're going to see that the status won't actually just update to awarded. It's going to move up here to the awarded grant section. So let me refresh and we'll see JZ Demo Grant 2. has been moved over here to the awarded grant section where it has the information that I entered for that. So we're going to submit one more grant. This one is going to be for the pre-awarded grant. So I'm going to create one more federal grant. This one will be a pre-awarded, so we won't recommend it. Okay, I have my information. I have my opportunity number. I'm going to copy that because to submit a pre-awarded grant, what I have to do is I need the opportunity number. Then I need the category, which for here I selected category auto allocated. I'm going to search for that opportunity number category, and here's the matching result. So from here, I can click next to continue. And from here, now just to be able to show on this path, in case I start this information, so in case I start the information, I stop, I leave. To continue this one, I won't see this in, well, I do see this in this section, but I won't be able to continue it over here. So it'll just be displayed as like a review. So to continue a pre-awarded grant, I just have to start again, go to pre-awarded, go to the opportunity number, category, and just begin again. So that's just a note for that process. For pre-awarded grants, you just always has to be done in one time. And this time I just need one document. I just need the award document. So I'll select my grant award document. Notice that every time I'm entering the description of the document, that's because that's required. Try to go next. All fields must be entered, so I have to enter a description in here. Confirmed. Then we have to go next to submit, review, and confirmed. So now we have in our grant intakes, we also have our pre-awarded, all pre-awarded grants and pending pre-awarded grants. So we want to go to the pending ones. These are the ones that have just been submitted, but not yet officially reviewed. So this is the new grant intake right over here. The status is pre-awarded. So I am going to advance the status from pre-awarded to being officially, after reviewing everything. Everything's been reviewed, and we'll say from pre-awarded to awarded. So that one is now done. So from here, once we have an awarded grant, the next step, the next phase, we've covered all the different awarded grants. Once we have an awarded grant that's been awarded to DFA, we can be able to create a subgrant. So I'm going to show a subgrant at this time. To create a subgrant, because we can have many subgrants, it's going to be here on the related tab. So we have subgrant requests because we can have many subgrants. So I'm going to click new, program name. So I'll say demo subgrant 1. And right here, the primary recipient is already completed for me. So that's the awarded grant intake, assistance living number, the status. And just like before, right now, if it's in none, it's in draft mode. So I'm going to show that first, just to put if you're still putting in draft mode. Grant period start date. So grant start date and end date. And then over here, we can enter the grantor details. We will need to search for the account for the state agency and the award details, the funding purpose, and save. So now we have our subgrant request. We see we have one listed at this time. We can have many, so I can always create more by clicking new. On the record itself, we see we have our information, but we see approval history. It's not yet approved. It's because it's in, it hasn't been submitted yet. So I need to update the status to being submitted. When the status is submitted, so that's what only I can do. I can only update the status to be submitted. Now we see we have approval history right here. So it's sent to many different approvers. Any of these approvers can be able to approve it. So just for the sake of demo, I'm actually going to log in as a system admin to be able to approve it. So we're going to go to our grant intakes.
Jason, this is Paula. Can I ask you a quick question about what you're doing?
Yes.
You showed multiple approvers. Was that only for the demo? And in reality, only Secretary Romero will be the authorized approver?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Paula. And also, Paula, the email for the approval will only go to Secretary Romero and it won't go to anyone else.
Perfect. Thank you, guys.
Excellent. Good eyes. Good eyes. So yeah, so just for the demo, we have multiple people being able to test it out, being approvers, but these people don't work there. So we'll just have Secretary Romero. So that approval can be done just over email. Alternatively, I can be able to click approve right over here. So either way, an email is the simple route, or if a person wants to practice Salesforce, they can come into Salesforce, click approve. It's been approved. Now I could be able to see automatically the status updated to approved. So from here, let me go ahead and log back in as a grant manager. Okay, so now what I want to do is the next step is when we have awarded grants. What will happen for awarded grants? We have a step for accountancy. This is primarily done by the state budget agency user, but can also be done by a grant manager. So I'm going to look at right over here, this recently awarded grant. And for awarded grants, we have a section right here in the grant award info section. We have these three fields: department code, BUDREF, and unique accounting code. Notice that this field doesn't have a pencil because I won't be editing this field. This field is like a formula. It will combine these fields plus if I look over here, it's a combination of the business unit as well. So the business unit with the department code and the BUDREF, which if I hover over that, the I icon over here, is stands for budget reference. So for accountancy, the state budget agency user will enter the department code. A budget reference, we'll say A, click save, and they're done. And automatically it combines 1A with the business unit in front, 34100. So that's done automatically. So that could be done by a grant manager as well. But if any edits are to be made, so if this information is incorrect, contact the admin user, because the admin would be the only one who could be able to make changes to this. If I try to make changes to these fields, it won't change this unique accounting code. It just is a one-time process. But that system admin, they have access to edit that field. So if you incorrectly entered the budget code, the bud ref or the department code, contact the admin to edit those fields. From here, the next thing I want to do for accountancy is to be reviewing encumbrances and expenditures. So what I want to do is go over here to reports. And over here, I see recent reports that I was viewing, so I can be able to see already, this is the report I want, grant financials. But you can also be able to go to all reports and then search for the name of the report. So grant financials is the name of the report we want. And over here on the report, we could be able to see that it's first grouped by agency, then it's grouped by the federal grant. So, and then it's listed out for every grant intake ID. So I could be able to see for this agency, we have this federal grant and we have all these grant intakes. And this from here, I could be able to see the pre-encumbrances, encumbrances, GL expenses, and remaining. And over here, we could be able to see at the top a highlight of the total of all those fields. And using those grant intake IDs, that's how I can be able to go to that specific number to be able to dive into that record. So that's how I'll be navigating from the report to be able to review the encumbrances and the GL expenditures. All right, the last processes are for the performance review process. So we have a desk review. For a desk review, for this one, I'm going to go to this grant right over here. And to be able to show, there is going to be, so right over here, this checkbox, this grant review, we have this new section over here for grant review because it's ready for grant manager review. It's ready for grant manager review because I said the performance period date, start date was last year. So 6 months after the period start date occurs, it will automatically check this box saying ready for grant manager review. So because of that, there's already a list already made. Yeah, here we go. Pending grant manager review, where it's just seeing that that checkbox is true, and it's the status is not yet, the sub status is, I'm sorry, the desk review status has not yet been updated. So what do I mean by the desk review status? Over here in the grant review section, we have a desk review status. So what I'm going to do is to declare that this desk review is beginning. I say in desk review. The alternative, once desk review is done, I'll say desk review completed. When it's in desk review, I can put my grant review findings right over here. And I'll just complete those fields. So the desk review status, the grant review findings are the only fields I complete. When the desk review is done, I'll be updating that to then say desk review completed. So that's for the desk review process. In the meantime, over here we have for our awarded grant, the agency, they're going to be uploading their documents. Oh, refresh. Oh, here, I have to log back in. I think because I was logging in and out of Salesforce. Okay. Okay, so now we have for our awarded grant, let's see, which one are we reviewing over here? Reviewing the one for number 2. Okay, we're going to add our documents for the performance phase. So I could be able to upload federal audit findings. So let me go ahead and do that first. Federal audit findings, and automatically is asking for number of audit findings. And we'll see that over here under the grant review section. We have number of audit findings, and we have these 3 checkboxes for different documents to be uploaded over time. We have federal audit findings uploaded. We have FY external audit report uploaded, and corrective action plan uploaded. We'll get to the corrective action plan in a bit, because that one requires other fields to be done by the grant manager. But first, for federal audit findings, once that's uploaded with number of audit findings, description of documents, Okay, so now we have uploaded that document. I'm going to refresh my page. We see we have 7 audit findings, and this checkbox is true. So this way I could be able to review the grant intakes with federal audit findings, be able to see those audit findings. Next step, we're going to update our FY external audit report. Let me go to number 2. Okay. Okay, now I'll refresh the page and we'll see this checkbox will automatically be updated to saying true. The FY external audit report has been updated. Okay, now from here, uploaded. Now from here, corrective action plan. So before the corrective action plan is uploaded, it has to be declared that corrective action is needed. So from the external audit report, if corrective action is needed, and then as the grant manager, you're going to update the substatus field. So this substatus field in this grant review section would say corrective action is due. Later, you would say corrective action compliant. So that's after the corrective action plan has been uploaded and compliance has been met. But first, corrective action is due is the first step. And then because it's due, select a due date. The due date is very important because we have this other field, reason for late corrective action. So if I submit a corrective action plan after the due date, it's going to be asking for reason for late corrective action. So if I select today, today is fine. I'm going to go ahead and click save. I'm going to upload my corrective action plan here. Let me refresh first. So corrective action is due for this record right over here. So because corrective action is due, I'm going to submit my corrective action document. And because it's a corrective action document, it's saying, is this document uploaded as part of a correction action plan? Yes. And then reason for late submission. Oh, so here it looks like this was actually submitting it today. It was due today. Let me update. So because the due date was today, let me go ahead and make it as an earlier due date. I'm sorry, as a later due date. So let's say it's not due till tomorrow. Part of a correction action plan? Yes. So this time, because the due date was in the future, it's not asking for late submission. So I can submit that document. Okay. And we see right over here, if I hit refresh, then the corrective action plan uploaded is now true. So after reviewing the corrective action plan and corrective action compliance is met, I could say corrective action compliant. And I can be able to, so that's for that process there. Now notice that the other field, let me go ahead and take the other grant intake. So this one's also awarded. It's also under, so let's say if this one also requires corrective action. So we'll say corrective action is due. We'll put this day in the past. So now for this one, for demo grant 4, because I selected, and I'm going to refresh this page as well. Because I selected this day in the past, now normally you wouldn't say corrective action is due in the past, nor I'm just jumping ahead in time. Because I'm jumping ahead in time, I can't show you this automation, but what will automatically happen when you pass the due date, automatically the substatus will update to non-responsive. So you don't have to worry about updating that status. It will automatically go to non-responsive when it reaches the due date. So by the due date, if there's no corrective action document no corrective action plan uploaded, then the status will automatically update to non-responsive. Because it's past the due date, when I now go to upload my document for that intake, I'm now asked reason for late submission. Okay. So now I refresh and I can see the reason for the late submission has been entered along with it. The very last process is the performance form. So over here we have grant performance. So this is going to be made available. For the current quarter's performance survey will be made available on the first day of that quarter. All right, so again, the current quarter's performance survey will be made available on the first day of that quarter. So here I can be able to see a performance survey, and I'll just say who was impacted, you, what was the outcome, when, what regions were served, us, and we could select multiple initiatives. So I'm just going to be entering information in here. Where does this go? So because there are going to be many grant performance surveys, I won't see this on details. I'm going to see it on the related tab because we can have many surveys. So here's my grant performance survey. I click on the record number and I can see the information I entered. And that is winning. That is the whole demo. So with that, we did take up a lot more time. So just want to do a check with everyone. How's everyone doing on time? Do you want to take a, put in the chat if you want a 5 or 10-minute break, or if you want to just go through to make sure that we can get everything in the training?
Can we do a 10-minute break, please?
Okay, all right. I'll put a timer up here for 10 minutes.
Thank you.
No problem, no problem. Okay, see everyone in 10 minutes. I don't know if anyone was in Times Square, but you can do that countdown if you want. 1. Happy training. Okay.
It's all on you.
All right. All right. Welcome back, everybody. We have a lot to cover. So what I want to do is making sure you understand Salesforce fundamentals, because there's so many processes that once you understand navigation, then you'll be able to handle all those different processes. So let's talk about fundamentals. Let me log in, and let me log out. To log in, to cover, just making sure we cover that stuff. Notice over here that it already remembers my usernames for me. And that's because, I'm going to click login with the different usernames. This is the first time I see the login page. I'm asked for a username and password. If this box is checked, remember me, then it will remember my username. Over here, I have a couple usernames. So most likely, you're the only one using your computer and you just have one username. So if that's the case, it will just look like this. You go to the URL login page in the future, and it will remember your username. It just remembers your username. It doesn't remember your password. Maybe you have a web browser extension that can remember your password. But what's great about this button right here is that it will remember your username for you. So that just saves some clicks and typing. If you do forget your password, you can click forgot your password, and then it will ask you for your username, and it will send a password reset link to you. And using that link, you can reset your password. So what's important is if you do forget your password, make sure you click that link. Don't try too many times and fail, because after too many failed attempts, it will simply freeze your account, and you have to ask one of the system admins to unfreeze your account. So now I'm going to log in. And if you want to register your phone number, what you would do, you'd be entering your phone number, have your phone nearby whenever you log in. To receive that verification code, and this time, oh, oops, actually, let me register with a different number. Entered a typo there. Okay. Okay, so now it registered my phone number. So because it registered my phone number, now when I log in the future, because it remembered this device, it's not asking me for verification. But if I log in with another device, you'll always know when a person's logging with your account on another device. That's the benefit of just registering your phone number for that account security. You don't have to have your phone with you every time. But if there's a login attempted for your username on another device, it will let you know. Now that I'm in Salesforce, we have our lists. So this is just generic. Wherever I go, we see a tab has a list, and recently viewed is always here by default. So we're going to work right here with the grant intakes tab, because that's where we're going to be with a lot. In this tab on this list, we see a pin right here, meaning recently viewed is the pinned list. So that's like your home page for that list. That's your default list. I can be able to select another page, like technical assistance required. If I want that to be my home page, I select that, click the pin, and now that is my new pinned list. So if I am over here on accounts, if I just log in, I go to grant intakes, and I could be able to see now this is the new pinned list. This is over here by default. So how I remember this for list management, pin star bookmark. This is very important to remember these tips, because you're going to have a lot of lists you're going to work with. You're maybe creating your own lists. Pin star bookmark, or how you can manage your lists. Pin star bookmark. Pin, you can only have one pinned list, because that's your landing page. You can only land on one page. So the benefit of knowing about the pin is customizing to see what page you want to land on. The next tip is a star. A star, you can star anything. You could star a list. You can also star a record. To do that, that's right over here, the star. You simply click the star, and now you have a new star. I can make that a star. If there is for instance, a grant manager review application that's in their in-desk review, and I want to come back to this later, I could star a record. So I could star a record, I could star a page. It's kind of like a bookmark within Salesforce. It actually kind of looks like the bookmark over here. We'll talk about bookmarks next. The benefit of the favorite, the star in Salesforce, is that one thing is that it's listed in Salesforce. So here I can see all of them listed. And just like a normal bookmark, I can customize the name of it. By clicking that pencil, I can edit the name. And it edits the name here. It doesn't edit the name on the actual list. This is still called the same name, but in my menu, I updated the name. But the real benefit why I love favorites is because right here we have the caret. This caret gives me 3 tools available. One, as we saw before, as I had to create many federal grants, I can create a new record right from here. So you won't be creating new grant intakes. Grant intakes happen from the portal. If you ever have to create a new federal grant, you can be able to just quickly do that from the caret, click new federal grant. That's one way the caret helps you. The second way is it shows recent records. So as right over here, we see recent records. And the third way, above recent records, you now have your favorites. That's the cool part about favorites, is that it automatically sorts it for you. So it knows, oh, you have a favorite grant intake list and a favorite grant intake record. So it puts that under the grant intake tab. So that's what that caret does. It gives you the opportunity to create a new record. It lists your favorites at the top, and then it shows your recents. So your recent records and your recent lists. So that's how we can be able to make a list more convenient, or a record more convenient, by making it a favorite. If you ever want to remove a favorite, then you click that drop down right over here to access it, edit favorites, and this is where you can rename or remove. So we click the X, we remove them all, now we have no more favorites. So that's the favorites, noting the star and the drop-down icon. The star is to make it a favorite, and then to remove it, you would click the drop-down. You can also remove it by clicking the star again, because this actually, I accidentally did this a few times. To access your favorites, you click the drop-down. If you click the star, that only adds or removes. So it's just like an on-off switch. Right now it's on, so I could turn it off. Because it's off, I could turn it on. So you can, that's all. That's all that happens when you make it click the star. It just makes it a favorite, or it makes it not a favorite. And that's just when you're viewing that record. So we see right here, if I'm viewing that item, because I'm viewing something that's a favorite, it's a star. If I'm viewing something that's not a favorite, the star is no longer there. I can make that a favorite too. So now we see we have our 2 stars listed. Whenever I view them, they're starred. I can remove it as a star, and now it's no longer there listed as a star. So there's 2 ways to remove. You can be viewing the item and remove it, or under the edit section. Right now there's no favorites listed. The third way to manage a list is bookmark. So for a bookmark, this one is great because you want to remember the URL to log in, but just the first time. After the first time, you can say where you want to go to, because automatically it took me to accounts. But if that's not how I start my day, if I start my day wanting to look at technical assistance required, queue, then I can make this a bookmark. So it depends on your web browser you use. Now for Salesforce, most web browsers are supported. The only one where there are some problems is Internet Explorer, but Microsoft Edge is fine. Google Chrome is great. Firefox is great. Safari is great. But Internet Explorer is the only one where sometimes there's problems with with Salesforce. So what I like about Google Chrome is that I can have my favorite saved for my account. So no matter what Google Chrome browser I go to on another computer, it remembers all my favorites. That's what I like about Google Chrome. No sponsorship. And so over here, when I click the star, then I am being asked for the favorite in here. What I'm going to do, so you can be able to see this, I'm going to stop presenting for a moment, and I'm going to present my whole screen. Okay. So we have over here, putting this in screen view to be able to see when I make something a favorite. Now over here, it's asking me about where do I want the favorite. I'm sorry, a bookmark. Where do I want that bookmark? I could put it in a folder. I could put it on the bookmark bar. So for now, I'm going to put on the bookmark bar. And now we have it over here on the bookmark bar. If I want, I can make a folder for it like we have over here with New Mexico BCD. I could be able to create a, add a folder for New Mexico DFA, add that to the bookmark bar. Now that I have my folder, I can just drag and drop my bookmark right into here. So the cool part about bookmarks is, let's say I'm starting my day. So I'm going to log out. I'm starting my day. Okay, so let's say I was doing something and now I want to go to the grants. So what I can do, I can open a new tab, ready to go. Instead of typing, I'm going to go to the bookmark right over here. And it's going to say, okay, to access this page, you have to log in. So let me go ahead and log in. And once I log in, it's going to take me to that page. It doesn't take me to accounts. It takes me to that page. I love that because all it does is it remembers the URL. You bookmark the URL. And this is that URL. So you can be able to make your day a lot easier by not just remembering the login, but remember the specific page you want to log into. So that would be a shortcut for you. So here, I'm going to back and share the window again, so we can be able to see it a little bigger. Okay. Okay, so Pinstar bookmark is the first form of list management. And so let's review. If I want to manage federal grants, so here, let's see, budget, yeah, we have a small group right here. Okay, so call it out. Right here, I see recently viewed. Why do I see recently viewed as the default list? And you could type it into the chat, or you can shout out. Why do I see recently viewed when I first start my day? First time logging into Salesforce, I see recently viewed record. Now in this case, I did actually view records, but the first time you log in, you never viewed anything. So you're gonna see, you won't see any records. So what do I have to do to see another list? So I'm now looking at recently viewed. If I want to view all active grants, how can I view all active grants? What should I click? You guys are quiet. I love to hear myself talk, but this training is not for me. I already know this. So again, this is how you, when you first log in, you're going to be seeing recently viewed as a list, but you don't want to see recently viewed because you never viewed anything yet. You want to see all active grants. So how can you view all active grants? Take a wild guess. That's okay. Even if you have a wrong answer, we'll know what answer's wrong.
Click the arrow, the drop down arrow.
Which one?
I would do it through.
There's a lot of drop down arrows.
Yeah, where it says recently viewed at the top left.
Bingo.
And that's all active grants.
Excellent. Now, what should I do now so that I make sure that this is my landing page for my tab? because if I come back, I don't see that anymore. I have to do this every time. I have to select all active grants.
You're going to pin it.
Perfect. Pin. Excellent. So pick whatever you want as your default landing page and pin that one. So we talked about pinning. What's the second way to make a list more convenient to view? There's 3 ways. We have pin. So if I not only like all active grants, I want to see, well, for instance, here, let's go to grant intakes. So technical assistance required is already pinned, but I also want to see my grant intake list. So I want to see grant intakes that I've taken ownership of. So how could I make this one more convenient for me to view? I don't want to pin it. I already have one list pinned. I can star it. Starring that. Great. What's the benefit? Okay, now that it's starred, what's that benefit? So if I'm looking at technical assistance required, how can I get to my star?
So is that the drop down arrow?
Which one? So many. You have 2 options actually. So if you guess one, you might get it. Let's see. Is it this drop down? No, that's just the column settings. So I can make it clip text or wrap text. So that's helpful for right here. If I'm not able to see everything, I can make it wrap text instead. I can make clip text. That's what that drop down does. This drop down, we just showed that. That's to change the list itself. This drop down, oh, there it is, favorites. So right there under the item itself. So if we are our favorite grant intakes, we can see that there. If we have favorite federal grants, like all active grants, we want to make that a favorite too. We see favorite federal grants, we see favorite grant intakes. So that's right there, the drop down for the tab itself. So that's important because to know the difference between clicking the word or clicking the drop down on the tab. 2 different things happen. So that was actually, I noticed, actually also in New Mexico, there was a user who got stuck during UAT. They said, I tried clicking the tab to get to the item, but nothing happened. And it's because they were clicking the drop down, but they wanted, but they should have been clicking the word to actually open up that page. So depending on what you want to do, you have all these controls. So click the word to get to the page, or click to the drop down to get to what page you want to get to. You want to get to specifically that favorite, you can pair there, and then you have that favorite. So that's my favorite way to get to the favorite. What if I now want to remove this favorite? How do I remove it? There's actually 2 ways.
You want to remove my grant intake list as your favorite?
Yes, I want to remove this as my favorite. Right now it's a
Can't you
favorite.
unpin it?
Well, it's not pinned.
Oh, okay. Let me see.
See, it's listed here, but I can just click it. I can just select it.
Can you repeat the question?
How do I remove this as a favorite? Right now it's a favorite. How do I make,
Why don't you just click on the star up in the
Unclick the star.
again?
remove? There we go. Bingo. Add, and we can see once it's blue, it's a favorite. So click it again to remove. Perfect. All right. And another way you can remove a favorite is, let's say you were looking at something else and you just a quick way, you're just thinking, you know, let me edit my favorites. Right here, the drop down next to the favorites is how you can be able to view those favorites, and you can edit those favorites right over there. From that drop down, you can enter that menu. So we can remove all active grants from here. We no longer want that a favorite. Pin, star, and what's the third way I can make a page more convenient to get to?
Bookmark it.
Bookmark, perfect, perfect. What's the benefit of the bookmark?
That just takes you straight to it.
Yep, does, exactly. Excellent way to start your day. If you get past the gatekeeper at the login page, it takes you to your favorite page. And you can log in, make mini pages bookmarks. Excellent. Okay, so that is pin star bookmark for list management. Now I want to show how you can modify lists, because you have lists right here, and we see that this list is technical assistance required, but there's so many different fields over here to be able to view just what you want. So we can modify these filters when it's our own list. So what I want to do, if I say I want technical assistance required, but you know, I want to view just when the requested assistance is for budget summary. So I just want to see budget summary. What I would do is first I'd have to make a new list. So over here, we have the gear icon. The gear icon, I could be able to create a new list, or I can clone the existing list. Either way, I'm creating a new list. This is just creating a list from scratch, or this is copying the current settings for my new list. So I'm not able to share this list with others. So that's what the section right here says. You want to share this list with others. Grant managers won't be able to share it with others, and that's so that there's not too many lists created. So I'm going to just call this list. We'll say budget summary assistance requested. Or if I want, I could be able to say tech assistance requested, budget summary. I'm only be able to type so much. I won't say BS, so I'll just say budget sum. Okay, so technical assistance was required for budget summary. I'm going to save. Now from here, it opened up the filters for me, and now here it's not grayed out. It's saying I can be able to edit this. So if I want to edit a current filter, I just simply click that box to edit that filter. So I want to keep it as this queue. I don't want to say all grant owners, and I don't want to say just where I'm the grant owner. I want to keep it as the queue, and the queue technical assistance required. So I want to keep that. But now I want to add another filter to say requested. And from here, other settings, I can be able to, just like a spreadsheet, I can make columns more narrow or wider. So I'd be able to read more in this column. I want required technical assistance to be budget summary. So I'm going to add a filter. Select from the field will be required technical assistance. So we're going to say required technical assistance. I'm going to scroll. These are all in alphabetical order. Required requested technical assistance equals, and now from here I select from the options, budget summary. And I could be able to select multiple ones. I'm just going to say just budget summary. Done. Then I click save. And now it's just showing me where budget summary. Now notice actually that it's just showing budget summary. It's not showing where it's budget summary and something else. So if you want to see where it's just budget summary, you say equals. If you want to see it's budget summary and something else, you say includes. So now it's showing me budget summary. So it includes budget summary, not just equal to budget summary. So that is how to be able to add a filter. If I want, I could do multiple filters. So if I want to say includes budget summary or project narrative, say requested technical assistance. Let's say this time I'm going to say just equals. I'm going to say equals, and here equals. So we'll say equals just budget summary or equals just project narrative. And the reason why I'm saying just this or this is because one more thing for filters, the last thing is we can be able to make filter logic. So filter logic means I can do 1 and 2. So it has to be budget summary and project narrative. Or we could say budget summary or project narrative. So you can be able to modify that. It's kind of like a report. You want to see this or that. So now we see budget summary or project narrative where it just equals that. So that's how we could be able to have a list for exactly what we want, and we could do that for any field. So right here, I just took those fields from this list view. If you want to make other fields be listed right here, you can go to this gear to see the select fields to display. Now from here, I can remove fields if I don't want to see fields. I can also add fields. So if I want to see agency sharing, I can choose that field. All the available fields on the record, I could be able to have my choice to see what I want to view. So if I want to see agency sharing, I could select that. I could then move the order. So now it moved order over from this column, move to the right to the visible fields. And now we can use the up-down arrows to change where that is. I click save, and now we see we have empty agency, agency sharing. I can move my columns, and by clicking that drop down, I can also make it wrap text instead. But it just makes it wrap text for that column. So I'd have to do that for every column I want wrap text for. So I can choose just which ones I want wrap text for. And that's how you modify a list. So you can modify a list by choosing your filters and choosing your fields. So fields and filters. As we see right over here, I can be able to add remove fields, and I can be able to add or remove filters. I click X and remove the filter because we just have one filter. I don't have filter logic available for me. And save. So this is how we can begin to have our list. We can also, last thing for modifying a list is renaming it. So for renaming a list, I'm going to click rename, and I could be able to modify the list right over here. And you see them automatically updated. So, and this goes into next. I'm going to show you for reports. Reports are going to be very similar. Reports use filters and they use fields. What fields do you want to see listed? What filter do you want to see for just the data you want to see? So reports are very similar to lists. So let's review. If I'm right now viewing all the assistance requested for budget summary. I now want to make another list where the assistance requested is the project narrative. How do I create another list? What should I do to create a new list? Take a while to guess. How can I create a new list? Create a new list. New list. New in the upper right-hand corner. Okay, good guess, Joseph. Let's try it. New in the upper right-hand corner. Oh, it's creating a new grant intake record. Good guess. Good guess. I'll give you 5 points for guessing. So it's creating a new record. And I'll be honest, I've tried that same thing too. This is how you're going to figure out your way around Salesforce. Is just click stuff to see what happens. You won't break it. It's built to make sure you just have to do what you can be able to do. So new in the upper right corner, that didn't work. You're close though. You're warm. It is in the upper right corner. It will. I'll give you a hint. It's a button in the upper right corner. Which button in this upper right corner? Guessing pencil. All right, good guess. Let's try again, Joseph. Let's try again. You know, I really love your guessing. Oh, nothing's happening. So that's actually, it's called, when it's enabled, it's for inline editing. So here we see budget summary. I can edit this. So that's what happens with the pencil. It allows me to like edit a field. So I could be able to edit. I shouldn't be editing these grant intakes, but let's say we're for editing federal grants. I could be able to edit several at one time by being able to select from the checklist saying, I want all of these to be edited like this one. And now from here, I could be able to make those edits, click save, and now all of them are now, oh, whoops, actually, I want to update all three. Forgot to check that box. So we want all three to have budget summary, apply, save, and now all three are edited like so. All right, so it's not the pencil. The pencil is to do inline editing, and you can just do for some fields. So I can't edit this field. I can't edit the agency sharing. So you're close. You're so close. It's not the pencil. What other icon could it be? How can I create a new list? The plus sign next to the star. Ooh, okay, let's try that. Ooh, all right, these are creating global actions to create a new task, new event, log a call. All right, so these are global actions. This is just be able to do things from anywhere. So that doesn't apply to us. You guys are eliminating it. We only have so many. There's not that many icons. What other one could it be? The settings cog drop down. The settings cog drop down. Bingo. New or clone. There it is. So because we want to modify our list, we want to create a new list or clone list. So the gear icon or the cog. So from here, I'm going to click clone because I want to create a new list that is just taking these list settings. And this one will say project narrative. Project narrative. I'll just say project nar. Okay, save. Okay, and now already it's showing me the filters. So at any time we have this gear icon to create new or clone, and this filter icon or martini glass. So we have a gear or cog, we have a filter or martini glass to be able to show filters. Now, if it's a list that we created, because we're the list owner, we can modify the filters. If I'm looking at another list that I did not create, like this all new intake grants, I don't have permission. This one's locked. I don't have permission. I can view the filters. So I can, good job, Abby. I can look at seeing what I'm looking at to see how is this configured, what reports are querying. But I can't modify it. I can only be able to do one of mine. So right here at the top, it's showing me recently viewed lists. Because you do have like a lot of lists here, you can also use search to be able to search for a specific list. So we're back on our list. We have our filters. And now what I want to do, I want to modify a filter. I say the requested technical assistance equals budget summary. I want to say equals project narrative. So how do I modify this? How do I modify that box? How do I modify that filter box? So that filter box now says budget summary, add filter. Okay. All right, now what should I do? I want the requested technical assistance to equal project narrative. change field to TA, technical assistance, and then value, project narrative. All right, Aurora, I love the abbreviations there. Very good. Okay, so we're going to change the field. Now, the field has to be the specific name, but that's okay. You can reference what you see right here, or you can also, in a new window, be looking at a you can have a grant intake open in another window so you can see all the fields. And I just find that as a reference because sometimes, I forget how it begins. So for instance, this way, because it's in alphabetical order, you can be able to know the specific wording of the field. So application submission start date, maybe you're looking for just start date or submission start date, but it has to be application submission start date, if that's the filter you're looking for. So new filter, we're going to change the field to request a technical assistance. Okay, and I could be able to say equals or includes. Equals would mean only, includes mean at least. So we'll say at least project narrative, done. Okay, then what should I do? Am I all set? I want to view just the ones where technical assistance is project narrative. Save. What happened? I want the request. I know I saw before request a technical assistance project narrative. We still had this filter. So because we added the new filter, I love the suggestion, Joseph, to click add filter. You add filter to add a filter. But if you want to not have a filter, I can just modify this one right here. So now I can click that box and I can change this filter, or I can remove the filter. So you can revise or remove. You revise by clicking the box, and now you can view it and revise it. Or to remove it, click the X. Now from here, if I save, now I see where it's project narrative, it includes project narrative. Okay, so to review, if I say, I don't want to say includes project narrative, I want to just say equals project narrative, only project narrative. So how would I revise that filter? The filter now says request, this filter box says requested technical assistance includes project narrative. I want to revise it. I want to say includes project narrative. I'm sorry, equals project narrative. Click the box, change equals. Perfect, that's the thing, exactly. Click the box, open the box, equals. Okay, and how do I remove that filter? Can I remove that filter? If I don't want that filter there at all, click the X in the box. Perfect, I click that X to remove that filter. Fantastic. All right, we're gonna keep that filter because we want to see that. Excellent. And now from here, if I want to modify this list name, I liked that naming convention Aurora used of proj narrative instead of project nar. So if I want to rename this, how would I rename this list? I'll give you a hint. We already clicked this icon before. Click settings. Okay, I don't see a settings word. I don't see the word settings. What icon does that look like? The cog. Yes, very good. So I'm going to click the cog. Click the cog. Okay. And here we have rename. So I could be able to rename it over here. Pro narrative. Oh, I guess I goes in proj narrative. Pro narrative. Okay. So that's fine. This is just for my view. All right. And that's how we can be able to create and modify managed lists. And now that we've managed our list, I want to make this a favorite. I click it a star. So now I can easily just get to that list right over here as my favorites. So that is list management, to be able to create your own lists. Pro tip is to be able to, because there's so many fields. If you want to know what field you should use, you could be able to search through here. But if you forget the name of it, you can also be looking at a grant intake record and just reference on the record itself what you want. If it's a date field, so for instance, say application submission start date. Now again, we're going to have equals, not equal to, less than, greater than. So we could be able to say equals today. I can put a specific day, or I can put a relative date, equals today. Actually, let's remove this filter here. Application start date. Equal to. Oh, here we go. So now we see some available. So less than or equal to today, which is obviously all of them. Here, if I remove, let's say all grant intakes, and let's just say today, all grant intakes submitted today. So we can be able to see that. So this is great for submission start date. You can be able to choose relative dates like today, this month. You can be able to see all the ones for this month, this quarter as well. This quarter, or we could be able to say last year. So you can use relative terms. So that's what's really cool about date fields. You can be able to use relative terms. Now we've talked a lot about lists. Let's talk about reports. It's the same thing. So here I'm going to go to grant financials because this is a report that I did not make. I cannot modify it. So we have our Martini class over here again, but I can't modify it. Well, here I can modify it, but it won't actually save. What I want to do for making a new report, I want to be careful not to edit this report in case I have permission to it. I want to save as to create a new report. So save as is like the clone button. And I'm going to say copy of grant financials. And we can keep the same name. I can keep in the same folder. So we'll just do that, DFA grant management. And I'll say demo for grant financials. So we'll say that, keep it in that folder. All right, so now that we created a cloned report, we can now be able to modify the reports in the same way. I am going to go to edit mode to turn into edit mode. Now in edit mode, the two things I can modify, fields and filters. Here are the fields, here are the filters. So I could be able to see application submission end date all time. I can also be able to see here are the relative dates. Instead of me typing it, it gives me all these options of the next 30 days, next 60 days, next calendar quarter. So we have all these options. I can be able to add more filters by whatever field I want, and I can be able to see whatever field I want. The difference between a report and a list is that reports can do grouping. So a list just sorts everything. A list just sorts it by a number. Like I want to see the biggest number by smallest number, or alphabetically, or by the date. You can just sort it one way. In reports, I can group it. So we see over here, we have our columns. Just like a list, we have our columns, but now we have our grouping. You can group only 3 fields. So I can group row, and I can group also by, let's say, submission and start date. Application submission end date, we'll say that. So we could be able to group by that as well. So now we have 1, 2, 3. Or I could be able to move this to my columns. Let me delete this over here and add this to my column. So now I see we have all these don't have application submission end date. Let's pick performance start date. Let's do that. Refresh. Okay, so now we can see all these have the okay, so it looks like it's not using that field. Let's see. Another field to group it by. So essentially you can be able to group by.
Jason, all this, all the data is from the legacy data. So we have all this. You can. There is another field called legacy as well. So it will show all the is legacy. So it will show whether these are the old records uploaded into this system or any new records. You can also group.
Okay. So all these are grouped as legacy, right? So yeah, so what I was trying to show is like how I could be able to group by group by group. So this is showing, but you can be able to group by just rows right over here to be able to see, I want to see this agency, and then from this agency, what are their federal grants? You can also be able to move the group to the column. So if you want to see all the federal grants over here, and then you could see the overlap. So I could see this federal grant was awarded to this agency and this agency. So you can be able to see that overlap whenever it applies. And here is the total for this agency. Here is the total for this grant. So you can be able to group that way or this way. The other benefit of having a report is having a chart. So here I could be able to have a chart. I can add a chart. Let me refresh first. And here I'm going to actually just toggle this, update preview automatically. So whenever I make changes, I don't have to click refresh every time. And for here in my chart, I have a few options. By clicking the gear, I can be able to see what type of chart I want. So I could do a bar or column. I could do stacked bar or stacked column. So if I do that, then I could be able to see what I want to stack it by. So I could be able to see I want to view the agency, and I want to stack it by the federal grants. So here I could be able to see the agency and all the grants for that agency. And I could also be able to see a funnel, for instance, if I want to see the funnel format, where I could be able to see color it by the agency or by the federal grant. So that's good for like progresses. Where you're seeing statuses of grant intakes, you can be able to see grant intakes in my funnel. Or if you want to see a donut, to be able to see what the whole number is and what the components are. And the line you can be able to see for whenever dates apply, and you can be able to add multiple lines. So you can be able to have, if there's multiple things you're reviewing, you'd be able to review by that. So here the x-axis would be, this one wouldn't work so much with multiple lines, but you can be able to do multiple lines if there's multiple things you want to compare over dates. Those are all different charts. So I spent a lot of time on the list because we see how it's those fundamentals of lists, knowing about filters. Filters just the same. I can also add my filter logic over here called cross. Well, first I could do be able to do cross filter to be able to say grant intakes with activities or without. And from here, once I have a couple of filters, I can be able to add filter logic as well. So we'll say use relative. And now that I have a couple fields in here, I could be able to add filter logic. So I could say 1 or 3 and 1 or 2 and 3. No, 2 is not a, oh, so we just have 1, 2. 1 or 2. 2 is not a valid filter. Oh, because we only have one filter. It's not using this one. So we just have our one filter. Let's add another one. We'll say created by equals Jason Zyklowicz. And now we can add our filter logic. So we can say 1 or 2. These are either created by me or this month. So records for that. Okay, so what is there anything else that you want to make sure is shown? The process itself was covered in the demo, so we have that, the recording to be able to show and over. What I wanted to do is use this time to be able to cover that basic navigation that's so universal. Understanding filters, we use filters for lists and we use filters for reports. Fields, we could be able to put the fields visible in lists and reports. The benefits of reports is we could be able to group. So what other questions? Now we have time for considerations. What questions for considerations do you have?
Jason, what is the process or the way in which the state budget folks would enter the accounting string?
Okay, great question. So if I go to my grant intakes, let's discard changes. All right, and so this is where it's good to have a list view of awarded grants. And what we want to see is awarded grants, and actually it'd be good to have a list view where there's an awarded grant without the without this unique accounting code. So we'd want to make a list view of a grant has been awarded, but there's no unique accounting code, because that user would enter in the department code and the budget reference. That's it, just those two. Oh, let's see here. This is bad record for me to use. Because again, this is incomplete data right here sometimes with the testing data, but that's essentially the flow.
That works. Thank you.
And the key note for that is that if that data was entered incorrectly, contact the system administrator to be able to modify it, because that field gets the this unique accounting code gets updated only the first time you enter the department code or budget reference. So if you enter that incorrectly, contact the system administrator to then modify it. What other questions?
I don't have any other questions. I think this demo was really in-depth and helpful. I'm really incredibly pleased with the way this turned out. I don't know if anyone else has any questions.
No, none from me. I'm good.
None from me. Thank you.
None for me.
Excellent. Well, let's start. So let's share. What was your favorite part? What was the favorite thing you learned? Did you like the flow? Did you like seeing lists? What's your feelings? Excitement or concern?
So I like the fact that depending on the person's specific job function, they can set up their list views for what they need to see first off, or how they want to see the information presented to them, because everyone will have nuances in what they want to see. So I like that it is moldable in that way.
Excellent. And that's very universal. Like it's one thing, it's like, right now we want to make sure we cover that in the training, but once you get it, you got it. And everything is hard until it's not. So if you do understand a bit more than others, if you're a bit ahead of others, I encourage you to support those people, because the best way to learn is to teach. And this way you can make sure that you even understand it better. Does anyone want to see any of that part again about showing lists, or is there anything else anyone wants to share about what they liked?
Can you go over really quickly customizing your dashboard?
Okay, yeah, so a dashboard tab is right over here. And I haven't had any dashboards that I've recently viewed, but we do have, let's see. So we have a grant dashboard right over here. So a dashboard is similar to a report in that I won't be able to edit this, and looks like I don't have permission to create a dashboard. So dashboards will just be for system admin. We'll talk in that training about modifying dashboards, but dashboards is a cluster of reports. Now see right here, it's not having data, but I can be able to, I want to make sure I click refresh, because right now I never got any information. Click refresh on the dashboard, because even though I'm now viewing the dashboard, it's just showing me from the last time I clicked refresh. So the dashboards will only refresh when you click refresh. And here we see charts for a whatever.
This is a dashboard for the
Does it-
ERAC program.
So the reason I'm asking, Joey, is I was thinking maybe we could customize the dashboard and then that's what we pull out to the other system.
Pull out to the portal.
Sorry, I was on mute. That actually wouldn't be a bad idea. Because we could go ahead and probably, is there a way that we can export these specific reports into a CSV or something?
Yeah, yes, you can, Jerry. Like reports, you can export into a CSV, and with the dashboards, you can download as a PDF or
You can
image.
download. Okay, but it doesn't give you the option to pull the data as a CSV.
Not on the dashboard. You can download the dashboard as an image.
Okay.
And the reports you can download as a CSV because all this data is coming from the reports, Joey.
Okay. So thanks for the clarification. So Paula, we could do that and go into the dashboard, see which dashboard we want to pull the data from. We go into the report itself. Once we're in the report, then we would go ahead and go over to the icon in the upper left-hand corner, do the export, select it as a CSV, which is details only, and make sure that it is in the ISO 8. Yep, perfect, and export.
Perfect. Here, I'll share the whole screen to be able to show what that looks like when opening it.
Yeah, so I see where you're going, Paula, and I think that would work.
And also, so here I'm opening that from the dashboard. What's great in the dashboard is that you can be able to see the whole report, or you can see just a component of the report. So we see, for instance, right over here, we have the dates and we have all these components. I can be able to hover over and I can see just those, like that number of records right over here. For like the smaller one where I can't see the number, it tells me 11 to 9. And if I just want to see that report, it then creates that filter for me. So it shows me that report of just those records. So I could be able to see just that then.
Perfect.
And here's that report pulled up, the one I just downloaded. Great. All right. Thanks for mentioning that. Any other questions? Questions, comments, or compliments?
I'm good. Thank you. This training was great.
Same. I really enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well,
thank you, everyone. All right. Well, have a wonderful day. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
thank you.
Thank you for your participation.